Well, hello and welcome to Understand Men Now. I'm Jonathon Aslay of jonathonaslay.com, and I'm so excited to be doing this live stream for you today. Our topic, the 5 secret thoughts a man has when he's totally into you. When he's totally into you, this is what he's thinking. Alrighty, really quickly, if you're brand new to my channel, please do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you can be notified of new content. And if you like this video, please smack that like button so more people get to see it, because the more likes, the more YouTube shares. So I hope this resonates with you. All right, we're going to jump into our topic really fast because that's the way I like to roll. And we're going to talk about the 5 secret thoughts a man has when he's really, really into you, when he's totally into you. So, and some of what I'm about to share is from my own personal experiences as well as experiences I've heard from other men. So I think the first one we should address, which is one of the most popular topics that's talked about when it comes to understanding men, is that when we really like you, we want to be your hero. We want to be your hero. We want to do things so you can look at us with respect, with admiration, with adoration. I'm a Leo, so if you're familiar with the 5 love languages, I think the first one mentioned is words of affirmation, and us Leos kind of like it, the word of adoration. Really quickly, if you're on right now, please post a comment so I know people are here, and smack that like button. All right, so we want to be your hero. And I'm thinking of a particular case where I was in a relationship with a woman, a significant relationship after my divorce, where, the relationship was going good. I'm really into her. And I wanted to, like I said, be her hero. And there was a case where she had 2 big dogs, and she had 2 big, or not big dogs, but she had golden retrievers, pretty good sized dog. I think they were like 65, 80 pounds, could have been a little more than that. And when she got dog food, they were 50-pound bag dog food. So one of the things I did early on in our relationship is I knew she was running low on dog food. I went to the pet store and bought 2 big bags, 100 pounds of dog food. She didn't know about it. I just wanted to surprise her, because I knew this was, it was heavy for her to bring them in. Not that she couldn't do it. Maybe they were 25-pound bags. Now that I think about 50-pound would have been pretty heavy, but I think there were 25-pound bags of food. And when I delivered it, she was so happy. She was so excited. I could be her hero. I could be the one that says, "Oh, Jonathon, thanks so much for being my hero, carrying these in for me and doing this for me." And when a man is totally into you, these are the kind of things he does to demonstrate that he genuinely cares about you. I think this is an obvious one. You've heard this before. Now, I know a lot of you ladies are going, where is this guy? Where is this guy who wants to be my hero? Look, we're going to talk about that in the Q&A, so we can address that. But let's just focus on those guys who are into you. And I know you're frustrated as hell because you're so used to the opposite, guys who aren't into you. So we're going to turn this around as well. And what I mean to say is we're going to cover this as well in today's live stream. So that's number 1. Number 2. What did I write down? I got to look at what I wrote down. These are secret thoughts. These are thoughts that we don't necessarily share, is that we might have a fear that you're going to leave us. This is a secret thought. We don't share this publicly, but we have this fear that especially when we're with a woman that we're really excited with, we might have even put her up on a pedestal, if you will. We have this fear that she might leave us. And what this causes us to do is try a little bit harder when this fear is activated. Now, sadly, a lot of dating advice is centered around reverse psychology and creating tension in the relationship. So a lot of women have been told to keep their distance, keep their space from a guy to make him wanting to crave you and want more. But what that's doing is activating his fear of loss. Okay, his fear of loss. And while we might try harder temporarily in those cases, I'm talking about genuinely men who are into you, not the men that are pulling away and you have to play this game of pulling away from him to bring him back. I'm talking about men who genuinely care about you. We have this innate fear that you might leave us. And that does make us try a little bit harder. Ideally, though, a healthy, happy relationship is one of a two-lane street. Both people are traveling at the same pace. It's not one ahead of the other. You're kind of on the same train track, if you will, and traveling at the same pace of liking each other, getting to know each other, learning about each other. And there doesn't have to be this game playing. But I will tell you, secretly speaking, when we really like someone, we're afraid they're going to leave us. By the way, I notice a bunch of people are on right now. Please hit that like button if what I'm sharing with you is resonating with you. I'd really appreciate it. That way more people get to see this. Okay, the third thing, and this is something I've heard from a few men, and I know I've kind of been in this boat myself. So this is not something that's just mine. I've heard this from a number of men. Men inherently are territorial. We're very territorial when we have a partner. Now, sadly, this is because from a caveman perspective, we were literally conditioned to treat women as property. I mean, throughout history, women were considered chattel or property throughout history. So we are very territorial from a biological sense. And one of the things that happens when we're territorial is that we might be jealous of your friends. We might be jealous of your friends. And what that means is if you're spending time with your friends and that's taking away from a relationship, from someone that we really like, we might be internally feeling fear. Now, that's all on us. That's not your responsibility. I'm just sharing with you, this is what might be happening inside a guy who is totally into you. And so you might have seen where they might stalk your social media pages and such just to see what's going on with your friends. Certainly if it's male friends, this could be even more problematic. But I will tell you that men are territorial and we might secretly be jealous of your friends. It's not a healthy thing. I'm just pointing out something that does happen. Now, the fourth piece that we're going to lean in today really piggybacks on the other two, because what I just demonstrated is fear or insecurity. Fear or insecurity, and what's happening there is neediness is coming out. So one of the secret thoughts that happen within us when we're in this needy space, whether it's you're with your friends or we like you a lot and whatever, and we want you all to ourselves, is a secret thought is we are also being conditioned internally, not been conditioned, but we do our best to condition ourselves to play it cool, which is so hard when we're into someone. In fact, when we're really into, I know when I'm excited about someone, when I'm enthusiastic about someone, when I'm feeling limerence, I'm incredibly demonstrative and I'm effusive. And that might come out as a lot of enthusiasm, which might seem needy. So I have to balance this space of showing my enthusiasm that I like you a lot and trying to play it cool at the same time. Now, people who naturally are playing off of women, they just operate from a place of holding space. In other words, they're not even feeling needy. They're not even feeling enthusiasm. They might demonstrate some levels of enthusiasm, but they're playing it really close to the vest because they don't want to show any emotions, because when they leave you, and I'm talking about players in particular, they can be honest to themselves saying, hey, I didn't show her any enthusiasm. I was into her. I didn't let her on, although players are often incredibly charming and charismatic, but what they're doing is they're playing it cool because they're really not that into you. They're just expressing it to get that initial conquest. And then once they're finished with that conquest, they're on to the next one. I know you're very familiar with players, and we can certainly teach you how to spot those guys much quicker. That's what I do in my private coaching. So if you're interested in that, I would check out the link to a free discovery call in the description to schedule a call with me to learn. I can teach you how to vet for those emotionally available men versus those men who are most likely going to play you. And I don't like even saying that, but I think you get the gist. All right, I hope you're liking this so far. Please hit that like button. I'd truly be grateful. So excited for the amount of people here. I can see the comments. I don't have my glasses on, so I'm not reading yet, but I really appreciate it. And we're going to take questions in just a few minutes. And now we're going to share the 5th secret thought. And by the way, I came up with 5 today. There's hundreds, okay? So there's a variety of different ways of looking at it. This just happens to be one of them. Oh, by the way, since it's 5 o'clock, it's happy hour, and this is my Moscow Mule. So I hope you have a cocktail right now. Oof. Wow. Okay, our 5th one. What did I write down? Oh. Now, this is a secret thought, but when we're really into you, we are definitely thinking this on the inside, and that is, can I or will I be able to please her in bed? Can I or will I be able to please her in bed? This is so ingrained in us that are really into someone, because when we really like someone, we want to be able to please them in the bedroom, and we're thinking about it. And hopefully, if you're with a man who's actually learned some sexual techniques other than pump and, oh my God, I was going to say pump and dump. That just sounds so crude. But I think you know what I mean. And a lot of men are literally only in their own pleasure. But when a man really likes you, we actually want you to be pleased. We want you to have an orgasm. And we're going to do whatever we can to make that happen. And those are the 5 secret thoughts, just some of the secret thoughts men have when they're really into you. Now, I'm sure you have a lot to say about this, so we're going to take questions in a second. In fact, really quickly, I'm going to read the board, see what's coming up. Absolutely right. Players are just the men who treat you like another notch on the bedpost. Exactly. That's true, Cherry. Thank you all. The dog food bags are way more than I can lift, and I can't even lift a big package of drinking water. Thanks, Lisa. I appreciate that. All right, now it's time for our Q&A. Please post a question for the next, depending on how many questions we come in. I'm going to be answering questions right now for you. That's the fun part of these lives, is to have a dialogue, and let's just jump into it. Now, before we do, we have a movie quiz. Oh, it looks backwards. Movie quiz. Can I talk more about neediness? I will. Okay, so our movie quiz question is, which film contains the line, "You should be kissed and often, and by someone who knows how"? I'm going to repeat that. Which film contains the line, "You should be kissed and often by somebody who knows how"? For someone who knows, this is an older film, so let's see who gets this right. All right, let's talk. Kathy asks, can you talk more about neediness? When is it a red flag? And Beth, no, it's not Bull Durham. Okay, so, but it's close. I think there is something very close to that in Bull Durham. So when is it, a red flag merely means ask more questions. So when you're experiencing something that creates doubt in you, that's a red flag. And a red flag means, so I want you to differentiate. Green flag, go. Yellow flag, kind of like a pause. Red flag, ask questions. And then the 4th is deal breaker. So, for example, for me, one of my deal breakers is someone who's a smoker. That's just a deal breaker. It's not a red flag. That's a deal breaker. Someone who smokes marijuana. Listen, I live in California. That's not a deal breaker for me. Now, if they're a habitual person that does it 24/7, that's a deal breaker. So the red flag would be to watch, I'm using that as an example, watch the habit and see how that manifests itself in their daily life. So for me, I'm totally cool with the occasionally of it. Again, I live in California. But if it's a habitual thing, that might be a deal breaker for me. The red flag would be just to notice what they're, just notice what they're doing. I'm picking a really obscure one. I'm trying to think of other red flags. Red flags for men. Ladies, you're just going to have to post what upsets you, because everybody is different, what their deal breakers are and what their what is a red flag for you. I think what's going back to neediness, though, is it's natural for men to be enthusiastic, okay? And even the coolest guy is enthusiastic. It's needy when you're feeling pressure, when you're feeling overwhelmed from them. that's when it's most likely needy. When you're feeling overwhelmed from their actions, that's a time to take a step back and ask yourself and have a dialogue. Really, neediness is really from a place of insecurity because they don't believe. And ladies, you're the queens of neediness, okay? So it's that belief that the trust hasn't been built. So what's most important is to build the layers of trust so someone feels safe, so they don't have to feel insecure and or needy. All right. Hope I answered that. Thank you so much. All right. Yes, Jane got it right. Gone with the Wind. Okay, Jess writes, is there any technique that a woman can use to help her suspend judgment when first meeting a guy and he says something that makes her uncomfortable? Example, guy has a 24-year-old nanny. So, well, first off, I think most nannies are younger people, so I don't understand the judgment around that. What I think is, I actually would be more concerned of, well, I'd be concerned about the judgment in and of itself, but I'd also be concerned of what's your fear going around someone who has that. So there's two things going on: a judgment about the person's age, who's the nanny, but then the fear that you might be experiencing that they have a nanny that age. So let me read that question a little bit. So how do we suspend judgment? That's a really tricky one because judgments are, I once did a Facebook post, why am I so judgmental of people who are judgmental? You know, judgments are comparisons. I think judgments are, quite frankly, our ego's way of trying to be superior to another human being. So how do we suspend that superiorness to another human being? Is actually see that human being as an equal to ourselves. Let me repeat that. Seeing that human being as an equal to ourselves. And that way, when we see them as an equal, we don't have, I think, and this is just from my own perspective, as we see them as an equal, there's nothing to judge because we see ourselves another human being. And quite frankly, we can oftentimes be judgmental of people because we see things in them we don't like, which is really something within ourselves that we don't like. Let me repeat that. We see something in them we don't like, which is really a reflection of ourselves as something we don't like. This is why I highly recommend the book, reading the book, The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. This will so help you when it comes to judgments. I can't begin to tell you how valuable this book is. And while you're at it, if you're going to be buying books, you got to check out my book called What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway by Jonathon Aslay. By the way, links are below to all the books I recommend. Why I recommend this book is because it's a journey of personal development, self-help, and spiritual work. So you can actually start breaking down those things that cause judgment and makes us more compassionate to human beings. In fact, there's a new book I'll be sharing with everybody that I highly recommend called Self-Compassion. It piggybacks on my book because through self-compassion, we can actually avoid judging other human beings, because judgment of other human beings, in my perception, is most likely making ourselves out better than them. Hence, we judge them. And oftentimes we judge them for the things we don't like in ourselves. All right. Hope I answered that question. All right. Christine, Christina. How to interact with a partner who may not be as intellectually compatible? LOL. Well, it goes back to what I just said. Intellectually compatible. You know, it's interesting. I worked with a woman years ago who was a smart, strong, successful, banker type woman, and she had a high IQ, and she dated a man who was basically, he was a white collar person in a blue collar job. He had a white collar job in a blue collar company. And so she looked at him very blue collar, and she didn't look at him very intellectually stimulating. What was fascinating was, by the way, the best relationship she ever had, he was attentive. He wanted to be her hero. He wanted to please her in bed. He had some of the insecurities we talked about. But what was most important is, it wasn't about his intellect. It was about his heart. That's what she appreciated most. And so at the end of the day, you know, I'm a big believer of just evaluating someone's heart. And while it's important to be, you know, intellectually stimulated, you don't have to be with a savant to be happy. And quite frankly, most people have opinions and thoughts about people when we just invoke the conversation. And that's really my invitation for you, is just invoke conversation and see where it takes you. It doesn't have to be, you know, it doesn't have to be like at some, like I said, savant level. You just have to want to talk to one another. And that's the most stimulating conversation of all in my book. All right. Smoking and heavy drinking. Yes, Lisa. Drinking every night, red flag. Smoking, a deal breaker. Those are certainly ones for me. How do you deal with men who make assumptions about me without even knowing anything about me? It seems I keep running into men who want to dismiss me before even knowing much about me. So, first off, we all have innate filters. You know, it's men or women alike. We, in the dating realm, we will pass on. Look at, I can go on my Bumble app, and I can make snap judgment. This is Bumble. Look at that. I think you can see it. There's Bumble. I can swipe right or swipe left without knowing anything about this person. It's just instantaneous, right? So oftentimes we make snap judgments, snap comparisons based on how we feel. And so we don't really know a person. In fact, I get judged significantly based on the, you know, the rhetoric that comes out of my mouth, and they don't even know me personally. They don't know about the loss of my son, Connor. They don't know about, you know, was at a point in my life where I almost wanted to commit. Well, I was at a point in my life where I went to bed wishing I didn't wake up. They don't know anything about me. They just see the surface. This is very true in the dating realm. We make quick judgments, men or women alike, based on how we feel. And it's not a judgment of you. It's just not a feeling of alignment for whatever reason. So, Lisa, I just want to shift the narrative and looking at it as a, and I'm not suggesting you're a victim, but I want you to be careful because it feels like victim consciousness. People make quick judgments. You make quick judgments. Everybody watching this is making quick judgments all the time in their life. It's just very natural. So what do you do about it? You talk to the people that you feel aligned with, and they talk with you. Because here's the thing: you could swipe right to 100 people, and not one of them be interested in you for one reason or another. And then the next day, you get 10 people are interested in you. Sometimes it works that way. I just wouldn't necessarily characterize it that they are, you know, they don't know anything about you, because it's very natural to make quick snap judgments in this dating realm. Okay. By the way, if you're enjoying this, please hit that like button and please share this with friends. Wait a minute. I want to turn this down. Okay. All right. Next. Karen writes, if a guy does things for me, yet doesn't ask me out, is he just doing things for me because it gives him validation when I thank him and compliment him? Okay. Well, why aren't you asking him out? Why is the expectation the man has to do it? You could simply say, hey, would you like to go out for coffee? Hey, would you like to grab a drink together? Now, why is he doing things? He likes you. Does that mean he wants to be in a relationship with you? You have no idea. This is why if you want to go out to dinner with them, if you want to have a drink with them, if you want to have coffee with them, it's absolutely okay for you to do that. Can I tell you that nearly 1/3 of women in happy, healthy relationships have literally initiated the dating process? 1/3. So it's now 2/3 men initiate, but it's okay to initiate. It isn't 1% of women. It's a significant percent of women. So make the effort, see what he says, and go from there. By the way, Jen, the new, the kids of today, women are very, empowered today. I love the 20 and 30-year-old women today because they're empowered. They're not caught up with the old bullshit of the baby boom Gen X, generation where we were from society stereotyped into how things should be. There are no rules. By the way, if you want to read a great book, where is my book? Oh, here, read this book. If the Buddha dated, this is a no rules way of dating. Throw out the penis and gender rules and date from the heart. You can ask him out. That's my invitation for you. By the way, I'm only yelling just like a drill sergeant yells to make sure you hear everything. I'm also yelling because just like a child about to touch fire, I want to make sure you hear this. All right. Heart and soul. That was very helpful. Thank you. And there's at least 9 types of intellect. I did not know that. Beth writes. Lisa writes, by the way, thank you. That's true, Jonathan. We all judge others. Exactly. How can I get a 33-year-old guy take me seriously as a 20-year-old? He makes our conversation sexual towards the end, but I never give in. How do I make him take me seriously? You know, I'm going to guess at a 33-year-old will look at a 20-year-old and probably not take them seriously in general, just because you're literally not even an adult yet. I mean, yes, you're 20 years old, you're legally an adult, but think about it. I was thinking about when my son was 16, he wasn't an adult. When he was 18, he was legally adult, but he didn't have much adult experience in his life. He's now 24, and he's got what I consider, he's not even been an adult. He graduated college at age 22, and he's still dependent upon us. It takes a half a decade or so to really become into our own. So it's not uncommon that we look at significantly younger people that way, especially when they haven't had much life experience. Doesn't necessarily mean you're not an old soul or anything like that. It's just the inherent, the more years you've been on the planet, the more you get, you know, it's being that adult space means you have to be out there for a while. So how do you get him to take you seriously? By treating him seriously. And if you treat him seriously, now if he's more focused on sex, you know, why do you want him anyway? I guess that's my question. Why do you want him? Tell me that answer, or answer that question. All right. Okay. I hope that answers your question. All right, Catherine writes, I prefer common sense life intelligence over book smart. I do too. So what Catherine writes talks about common sense versus book smart. I know lots of people who are book smart that I can't stand because they're more focused on, you know, being right than having a real dialogue with me. That's the one thing I've noticed about people who are overly intellectual. They always have to be right. That's just my perception of them. I'm not saying that's true, but I like people that are more common sense smart, if you will. In fact, that was Connor. Connor, look at, it's interesting. So there's Colin, my oldest, graduated magna cum laude. Connor struggled. By the way, for those who don't know, I lost my 19-year-old son, Connor, in an accident a couple of years ago. He wasn't book smart. He was a genius. He could put things together. He had a brilliant mind, but he struggled mightily in school. It actually now breaks my heart because I know he would have struggled as an adult, because he would have been judged for not being smart, and yet he was brilliant in so many different ways. And it breaks my heart because he struggled reading and writing, not because there was anything wrong with him. It's just that was the way he was born. And so it really breaks my heart to think how much we judge human beings based on their intelligence. And for some, like Colin was blessed. You know, I can't, it's interesting how God gave me kind of, from this perspective, to, I don't even want to say opposites, but differences. And it just hurts me how much we judge people based on intelligence, when most people, we should judge them on their, not judge them, but evaluate them based on their heart, and not by whether or not they know how to spell your. I screw that up all the time. I screw up your, okay? I'm a human being. I make mistakes. And yet we get judged for little things like that. And this is why we're in a stupid fucking cancel culture and all this other crap, because of heavy duty judgments and a lack of compassion for humanity and one another. And I'm getting on a political rant here, which I'm going to stop in a second. But I'm really fed up with the amount of ridiculous judgments. Human beings, let's start operating from loving ourselves first and then loving everyone else. It's one of the chapters in my book, chapter 6, about loving humanity. Let's start with loving humanity. Okay, I'm done with my rant. I hope you don't mind. All right, thank you. Taking care, okay, so Carrie writes, talking of the younger people, why are they so needy to dating sites? Why are they so needy to the dating sites rather than going out and meeting people? So let's go back to my son, Colin. So his professional life, he's not surrounded by any single eligible people. He doesn't go out to bars. That's not his thing. And so in his daily life, he meets nobody for the most part. He works with children. He's a tutor, by the way. If you need a tutor for your child, please let me know. He does Zoom tutoring for children ages 6 to 21. He does tutoring. He's also a master at French. Remember I said magna cum laude? Okay, so look at, he uses dating sites because it's the only vehicle to meet people. The reality is unless you're surrounded by single eligible people these days, it's rare that we're going to meet someone organically. I know it sounds really sexy and everybody talks about it. And yet nearly, I want to say, if not more than 50% of all new relationships for people over 45 years old are happening through an online connection. So let's just understand that this is the way we meet people. And rather than judge it, let's just accept it. It's not good or bad. It's just a spoke in the wheel. Okay. Evelyn writes, which dating sites would you recommend to a professional female who just turned 60 yet looks significantly younger? So Match.com happens to be the biggest and most popular. They own almost every other site anyway. So there's OkCupid, Match.com. There is, I'm not a fan of Plenty of Fish just because I'm not a fan of it. I just didn't like how the functionality of the site was. Certainly eHarmony is a good site. The problem is there's so few people that join it. I use Bumble. I use Hinge. I'm on Tinder. Everybody says, well, Jonathan, they're pickup sites. No, they're just a spoke in the wheel. And if you're 60 years old, there's plenty of 60-year-old people on the dating apps, as well as Match.com and Our Time. And there's another app called Stitch for people over 50 years old. So Google that. You might want to check that out. Hope I answered your question. Jenna writes, Jonathan, I made a comment the other day. Why is it that sometimes when men get to know me, they panic and say, you're too good for me? How do I help people with low self-esteem? Well, so you're too good for me. First, say thank you. Thank you. Now, I'm starting with thank you because rather than criticize or judge, let's lean into it. Thank you for feeling that way. Can I ask you what's coming up for you that makes you feel that way, that I'm too good for you? Is there something in my personality that's making you feel that way? Or is that something within yourself? And let's talk about it. Use our lips, use our mouth. By the way, highly recommend, where is it? This book, Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. It should be noted as called Compassionate Communication. Ask questions. What's coming up for you? What's coming up for you that causes you to say that? Because I think you're a wonderful human being, and I consider us, contemporaries. I consider ourselves equal. Now, sometimes men say that as their escape clause to exit out of a relationship later on down the road. It's an excuse to say that way because they're pre-planning their exit. That can be the case. Or they genuinely, I was in a relationship where I put a woman up on a pedestal she was a doctor, she had her own television show. I did feel insecure. Now, I didn't show it, just like when I shared what did I say? The number 5 thing is how to play it cool. Don't show your neediness. I did my best not to show it. But inside, I was feeling that way. And that's not an uncommon feeling for men. How do I help people with low self-esteem? Encourage them. Be their cheerleaders. Tell them how wonderful you think they are if it's sincere and from the heart. Do not bullshit someone just for the sake of making them feel good. I did a YouTube video called Stop Being Nice to Guys. And nice means telling people not what you really think. And I'm here to say, speak your truth, as I talk about in my book, speak your truth. Just do it with kindness. And do it from the heart, okay? Lisa writes, and then you get into your 50s and guys your age want younger women. So it is not uncommon that men in their 50s want younger women. It's not uncommon for women in their 50s to want younger men. This is a very common thing, okay? My last significant relationship, she would kill me. She was 10 years older than me. She'll kill me for saying this. So my last relationship was older than me. I've had relationships younger than me. Not all men want younger women. Not all women want, older men or younger men or whatever. This is just what we feel attracted to. Now, sometimes we want younger people because they come to the table with a lot less luggage. The older people get, they sometimes come with luggage. So that might be a reason. Here's the thing. You can focus on what's wrong, or you can focus on what you want. Rather than focusing on what you don't like or what you don't want, focus on what you do want. And I'm going to give you a perfect analogy. Sadly, Tiger Woods got in a car accident literally a few miles from where I live. Okay. Tiger Woods, probably the greatest golfer that ever lived. Okay. Now, when he goes up and plays golf, he doesn't think to himself, oh God, I hope I don't have a shitty round. I hope I don't have a shitty round. I hope I don't have a shitty round. He's thinking, he's thinking in his head, how am I going to have the best round? How am I going to have the best round? He doesn't focus on what's wrong. He doesn't focus on, oh my God, there's water in front of me. He's like, how can I get it on the green? So you have a choice, Lisa and everyone else. You can focus on what's wrong or focus on what you want, because it only takes one man. And let me tell you something, if I date an older woman, there are plenty of men who dated older women as well, or women their own age, or women 1 year younger, 2 years older. It doesn't matter. Focus on what you want and not what you think men want. In fact, let me stop there for a second. By the way, if this is resonating with you, hit that like button, hit that like button, hit that like button. Ladies, stop giving your power away to men. Who gives a shit if men want younger women? What matters most is what you want. Don't focus on what they want. Focus on what you want. Now, sadly, I shoot these videos based on helping you understand men, because you wouldn't watch videos if they were empowerment for you. You guys are fascinated with men. Why do men do this and why do men do that? I'm like, who gives a fuck what men do? Care about what you're doing. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating? Please post a comment below. All right, we're going to do another movie quiz. All right, this is going to be an easy one. Which film contains the line, "You had me at hello"? Which film contains the line, "You had me at hello"? That one's an easy one. All right, let's see our next questions. He says we're both adults and insinuates to us going out. Wait, because I like him. Sorry, I don't get your question, Sarah. All right. Jonathon, sorry, there's lots of, oh my gosh. You might have to buy a super chat because there's a lot coming in right now, and this way I get to see it. Okay, Kim writes, what do you think of a guy that wants to go out, wants to go out with you, but all he talks about is sex, but says he wants to find love outside of sex? Why do you care? Why do we care about guys who do this? If a guy only cares about his sex, why do you care about him? That's the question I have, Kim. Why do you care about him? Okay. Why not care about you? Self-love. Sorry, I get kind of, stop caring about what they're thinking. Care about what you're thinking. Okay, Christine writes, most of those who judge others have been judged themselves. Yes! we are, human beings are judgmental people. And we got to stop putting because it's superiority that causes us to judge others. I'm here to say, You know, we're all on the same playing field. We're all fucked up. It's just a matter of degrees. In fact, I highly recommend reading this book, How to Be an Adult in Relationship. This is how you learn how not to judge, by becoming an adult. In fact, you know, I've got this little chart here. It says parent, adult, child, parent, adult, child. You know, a parent, you know, an adult treats people with love and compassion. A child is always me, 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 and the parent is being superior to a child. This is why this narrative of judgment is always based on some ideology that we're superior to someone else. Let's just stop that fucking rhetoric. Okay? That's just how I feel about it. By the way, I do curse, yes, and it's just to enhance a sentence. I watch John Oliver on Sunday night. He curses all the time and he doesn't get any complaints, or maybe he does. I don't know. All right, Ari writes, I had many great video dates with a guy, but after our first in-person meet, he said there's no chemistry. He was into me. What is this chemistry men speak of? Ooh. I'm a little worried that you don't know what chemistry is, because, all right, every lady here knows what chemistry is. Chemistry is that feeling you get when you're excited around someone. And you could talk, by the way, ladies, you can talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and FaceTime all you want to a guy before you meet. Until you actually meet, it isn't real. And even then, it takes 100 hours of face-to-face time before you even enter the first layer of a relationship. So all this talk and Zoom and everything, it's not going to amount to about this. By the way, never do this in front of a guy. Don't do this in front of a guy. Do this. You want this. It amounts to about this. Okay? So Ari, what that means, the chemistry, you better talk to your girlfriends, because everybody knows what chemistry means. And if you don't, then you have to do a little bit of research on your own. Okay, Sherry writes, I'm not judging in any way. My two youngest sons use dating sites, and I want to understand their needs more. Okay, again, Cherry, what I said is most likely they're not surrounded by single eligible women, and so they're using dating sites as their opportunity to meet them. That's what I said before, and I pretty much feel that way, is why younger people do it, while older people do it, why everybody does it. Bobby says, I love your big brother approach. Thank you. Yes, I'm your big brother. I'm here to protect you from the bad guys and get you married as soon as possible so I can move into the family estate. That's what I say in my coaching. It's called heart-centered radical honesty. It's direct, a little tough love, and a lot of heart. All right. Jenna writes, mostly it's within themselves. Latest guy is having a lot of troubles with his parents. Nothing to do with us per se, just a lot of family drama. Hey, look, part of the dating process as we age is all of our luggage, and our family is a part of that luggage. So it's not uncommon that people are going through some chaos in their life, that the ground underneath them doesn't feel very stable. So it's not uncommon that they act in a chaotic way. That is why it makes sense to date people who have at least a solid foundation underneath them. And if they're going through a lot of chaos in their life, they're not necessarily the best person to be in a relationship. I'm not saying you're not capable of being in a relationship with them. You just have to be mindful that if the ground underneath them isn't solid, then it's hard to build a house on a weak foundation. All right. Jonathon, how do I deal with a grumpy man? All of his friends and family like me and say they don't understand why he's being like this. You know, I think grumpiness is a lack of self-love. When someone's grumpy, there's probably something going on inside of them. Most likely there's a childhood wound and trauma that hasn't been healed. Let me repeat that. There's been a childhood wound and trauma that hasn't been healed. This is one of the reasons why I recommend doing the Hoffman process, This is a deep dive into healing childhood wounds and traumas. Give him this book and see if he's still grumpy. All right. Let's take our next question. They say there was they saw there was chemistry with us. Wait a minute. Oh, let me go back. Okay, this is Jane's follow-up. Says, okay, they saw that there was chemistry with this. I know he's got a childhood issues to work out. I didn't read that. And he goes to therapy, which is really good. But I backed off a lot. Am I doing the right thing? You know, check in with your heart, Jane. It's not your job. I'm a big proponent that if the penis gets to go inside the vagina on a regular basis, okay? If the penis gets to go inside the vagina on a regular basis, then I'm a big believer of two people co-creating the relationship. Let me repeat that, co-creating. In other words, being intentional, co-creating the relationship. Did I grab the book? No, I didn't. But I do recommend this book, 8 Dates by Dr. John Gottman. If he gets to have sex with you, then the two of you should be reading this together. And this is how you co-create a relationship. Stop leaving it up to the guy. Take charge of your life. You're in charge of your destiny. Don't leave it up to the guy. And if he doesn't want to do it, then the penis doesn't get to go inside the vagina on a regular basis. Read this book together. If this is resonating with you, please hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. All right. I hope that helps, Jane. Jennifer writes, how do you date more than one person without feeling deceitful? I don't want to get too focused on one person too quickly. I don't want to feel like I'm doing something wrong. Jennifer, great question. You're not going to like my answer. I am not a big proponent on dating multiple people. Let me tell you why. I think it'd be really disingenuous if a woman I meet on a first date and I like her and she likes me, and I ask her out on a second date and I like her and she likes me, and I ask her out on a third date and she likes me and I like her. But then on the fourth date, I let her know, by the way, I'm dating 5 other women at the same time. Are you okay with that? She'll be pissed. She'd be pissed. She just invested 3 dates with me. She thought I was serious. I think I'm a big proponent of giving one person one person at a time. Now, I'm talking about dating, not meeting. You can meet as many people as you want at the same time. But the minute you begin dating someone, date one person at a time. Because here's the thing, how will you feel if the same thing happened to you? That's my answer to that question. And if it feels wrong, if you would feel shitty that a guy did it to you, then why would you do it to a guy? And I understand you've been taught to duty date and circular date. I think that's fucking bullshit advice. I think it's the most unhealthy advice out there, but that's my perception. You have to do what's best for you. Oh, wow. Okay. We have lots and lots and lots. Jerry Maguire. Yes, everybody got that right. Thank you, Jenny. You like my bluntness. All right. Beatrice writes, my daughter's teacher texts me almost every day. I'm not sure if he doesn't ask me out because he is my daughter's teacher or because of COVID. How do I ask without scaring him away? He texts me almost every day. I'm not sure if he doesn't ask me out. How do I? Well, just ask him out for coffee. I mean, I'm not sure if that's inappropriate or not. Just say, would you like to meet for coffee? And if he says no, then you got your answer. It's as simple as that. Although I don't know about the professional legalities of this, I don't think teachers are precluded from dating a student's parent, but ask him out. Say, hey, would you like to grab coffee sometime? Simple as that. Okay, someone wrote, if Harry met Sally. That is not the answer. Okay, AC writes, I've been with someone for almost a year and we've not had success in the bed. I'm afraid it'll be our demise. Please help. I feel such a soul connection with him. So that's a really tough one. And I'm a big proponent of being in, by the way, so there's a chapter in the book, 8 Dates. There's a chapter in the book, here, let me find it. It's called Let's Get It On, Sex and Intimacy, right there. Look at, these are the chapters of the book, okay? Sex and Intimacy, date number 3. So I'm a big proponent of doing Tantra, doing Kama Sutra, maybe even seeing a sex therapist. I've known couples that have seen a sex therapist. I'm a big proponent of having conversations and talking about this. Ladies, I want you to imagine something. What if this is the other way around? The man doesn't feel satisfied in the bedroom with you. What would you want? What would you want? Reverse it. Ask yourself that question. But my invitation is to have a conversation, talk about your sex life like two adults talk, and have a conversation about it and see if you can move past it. And there are plenty of people that can help you with this. Just Google it, because that's not my area of expertise. Jennifer writes, yes, I went out with a man one date, had known what? Yes, a man I went out with one date had the nerve to judge older unmarried women, yet he's 53, never married, no kids. Before you judge, make sure you are perfect. See, again, judgment is arrogance, meaning superiority. Everyone needs them, slap them in reality. Exactly. Delphago writes, my DA former person, we had never dated, has reappeared by watching my IG stories and leaving reactions and likes. This is 7 months after he deactivated and welcome. How should I approach this? Why are you caring about it? Again, ladies, why do you care? If you want to do, how do you deal with it? Tell me how you want to deal with it. You know what? The best way to learn is to ask your higher self. I'm sorry, I'm yelling. I'm not trying to be mean. It's just, how do I approach this? Well, what do you want? Tell me what you want. If it bothers you, tell him to F off. If you want, delete him from your profile. If you want to ask him out on a date, ask him out on a date. Why is it that we're, rather than, because I get it, it's confusing. Men's actions are confusing. But what you're doing is equally confusing. Take empowerment of your life and not leave it up to him and say, what do I want? Those are the questions you should be leaving for me. Christina writes, Jonathan, how do we deal with people? Wait a minute. John, how do we deal with people who interject in conversation even when it's been brought up as an issue? This is a really good one. Get a bullhorn. One of those little things that beep, that goes beep. And when someone does that, fucking stick in their face and do that and say, stop interrupting me. Does anyone remember watching the debates and how much interruption was going on? I think we should carry little tiny foghorns with us. And when someone's being a jackass, just put it in their ear. By the way, how do you train a dog? It's the same way. How do you train it? I know that doesn't sound very kind, but why not try it? Let's stop being so, what's the word I'm thinking of? Dainty around people. Now, literally use a foghorn and tell them, hey, you're interrupting me. Stop it. Believe me, you do that 10 times with a foghorn, they'll stop. Him being DA, he's not likely to make the first move. Would I be wrong to get the ball rolling? I think I already answered that. Bobby writes, friends for over 20 years, in and out of each other's lives, lost his job, broke up with me after an intense 6 months. His mom had marriages, and he has a baby boy from marriage 3. Now, question, what the heck now? I don't understand your question. I completely agree. Date one person at a time. Thank you, Evelyn. Elisa writes, I agree with you about dating lots of men at once. Quantum dating is what feminine energy coaches teach. Yeah. Do quantum dating, do circular dating. And guess what? I will never date a woman who's dating multiple men. I will never, ever, ever date a woman who's dating multiple men. If she can't give me a few dates to decide if we want to explore not a few dates. If she can't give me 10 dates to explore a relationship with me, let me just be clear. If after the 3rd date, a woman still needs the field to date other men, remember I said men fear of, I will never put someone on that much of a pedestal that I'll be needy to try to get them to like me. If you don't like me on the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd date, then go fucking date someone else, because I ain't going out with you. And guess what? I'm not the only guy who feels this way. Only needy men or men who have something to prove will chase a woman who's dating multiple people. That's my opinion anyway. I just tried to check out your website book recommendations. List is blank. Is there any books on dealing with codependency, and what would you recommend? Yeah, hold on one second. By the way, are you saying my link to the Jonathon Recommends books doesn't work? I'll fix that. Check out the book, Codependent No More. Great book on codependency. Okay. We're coming up on the hour, so we're gonna do one more trivia question, then we're gonna wrap up with one more question. I know we've got great questions. I want to thank so much. One more trivia question. Which 3 countries does Elizabeth travel in Eat, Pray, Love? In the movie Eat, Pray, Love, Elizabeth Gilbert, what 3 countries does she travel to in Eat, Pray, Love? Let's see if you get that one right. All right, let's take a few more questions. Okay, Jay writes, I have a friend with benefit. He is high sensitive. When we're together, we act like a couple. Has a lot of things on his mind. He's a pilot during COVID. Finance, his kids. When do I drop the bomb on the next step? So I'm assuming you're interested in something more serious than friends with benefits, although it sounds like the ground underneath him is rather weak or struggling. He's got financial issues, kids, everything else. So the fact that you even think of it as dropping a bomb means most likely the two of you aren't on the same page. He wants friends with benefits. You want something different. It's simple. You have a conversation with them. I'd like to explore a more deeper, committed relationship than what we're currently doing. Where are you at? Oh, I just like to keep things friends with benefits. Okay, I'm going to move on. You have a choice. You get the choice, the red pill or the blue pill. You get to decide what road you're traveling. So it's not up to the man. It's up to you what you want. If you want a serious relationship and he doesn't, then why do you want to invest time in someone who doesn't want what you want? Ladies, stop giving your power away to men and start taking charge of your life. This is what I'm trying to implore you all to do. Someone says, 100% agree. Thank you. I joined late. Hope yes, it is recorded. All right. So Italy, India, and Indonesia, correct. Italy, India, Indonesia, correct. That's the answer to the question. So this was an impromptu live that I thought of doing. I may start doing this. By the way, I'm doing a live every Friday at 2 o'clock Pacific Coast time. I might start doing lives on Wednesday night because more people get to join. Seems like it's more fun. This is a blast for me to get to share. Listen, I recognize that I curse. I recognize that I shout. I recognize that I'm opinionated, especially in the area of the rules-based way of dating, which is reverse psychology. Oh, I hate this. I want to throw it and beat it up. I don't like this. Reverse psychology doesn't work. What matters most is falling deeply in love with yourself. Falling deeply in love with yourself, because the most important relationship you'll ever have is the relationship with yourself. And the quality of our, as Esther Perel says, the quality of our lives, relationships, and that starts with yourself. I'm here to encourage personal development, self-help, and spiritual work. Hence my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? There's a link below to my book. You can go to Self-Love the Book. I hope you order it. I hope you give this to friends. I'd be truly grateful. I hope you share my YouTube channel with your friends. I would be so grateful for that. And if you'd like some love and support, check out my link to my my group called Midlife Love Mastery. You can have direct access to me for $20 a month joining my private group. And if you want to work with me privately, check out the link to a free discovery call to see if working with a coach is right for you. Please hit that like button one more time. And we're going to wrap up as we always do. Hey, hold on one second. Stay. For those that know that Connor's nickname is Salty, I brought Salty out to say goodbye to us all. I'm going to wrap up this video as I always do. First off, giving myself a big, gigantic Jonathon Bear hug of self-love. I'm going to reach into the camera and give you a hug of love if that's okay. I'm going to ask you to turn to someone or a pet or a teddy bear or a stuffed animal and give it or them a hug of love, because hugs are a great source of love. and we can all use more love in our lives. Thanks a bunch. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. We love you. Bye-bye.